on YouTube, whether you're listening to us after the fact, watching us throughout live, we do appreciate you tuning in. And we are here to preview every single game this week. Yeah, we talk about every single team, not just the Cowboys, not just the Chiefs on the show. We talk about every team in the NFL, and we have the documents, and we have smashed all of our picks after Thanksgiving and throughout November when the football season has really ramped up and when it matters here. And then we're also going to preview this thing called the NBA Cup. Why does this exist? We're about to break that down and then preview a little bit of extra NBA, maybe some MVP odds in there, and a little bit of playoff picture sprinkled in so you guys have the update. But we have a hell of a matchup tomorrow on Thursday night. We have this team called the Detroit Lions, one of the best teams in the league, actually the best team in the league as far as record. This year, their offense has been a demolition. And then we have the Green Bay Packers trying to find their footing with Jordan Love. They really turned it up after Thanksgiving last season versus Detroit. And now they split their matchups last year after the Detroit Lions beat them for the first time 2 games in a row since Aaron Rodgers was there. Now the Lions trying to sweep the Green Bay Packers in this game. I believe this one is in Detroit this time. How do you see this game going on a Thursday night inside of a dome here? Jared Goff, Jordan Love, LaFleur, Campbell. We know what's up.
Yeah, see, at this point, it's so hard for me to bet against the Lions. When they played each other last year, or I'm sorry, when they faced each other in, I believe it was week 9 that they faced off, um, the Lions just kind of controlled the entire game. You saw the Packers kind of come back in the second half, but overall, Lions controlled. I feel like in this game, I should think it'll be a little bit closer. Vegas has them as a 3-point favorite, but I just think right now this Lions team's on a different mission. They just seem impossible to stop. Jared Goff can throw 5 interceptions and still win football games. You have the running game that's been ultra effective. And also, they're poking the bear of Amon-Ra St. Brown, a guy who's an absolute killer. Jair Alexander says, we're not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even though Amon-Ra St. Brown is arguably a top 5 receiver in the league right now. He's been on an absolute tear this season. You want to piss off a guy who's that nuts, who remembers and recites every single wide receiver that was taken ahead of him in the draft each and every game. I'm not betting on the 10 games straight of the Lions winning and dominating, and I'm not betting against Amon Ra either. So I think the Lions win, and I think that spread is pretty accurate. I think that's just about right.
That's real. Jair Alexander's really picking a fight with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dan Campbell's going to come out there and say, hey, man, Amon-Ra, you want to go out there? You guys going to let them talk shit? You're going to have Grit coming to their house? You're going to let them talk shit? We're the kings of the division, man. You're the one who's taken in the 4th round, man. You have all these receivers you recite in front of you. Then some old senior citizen cornerback's going to talk shit about you. Really? Why would you want to pick a fight with Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Detroit Lions where it's like this is a team who has, a lot of things that hurdles that they have overcome here, getting to the playoffs, getting to a conference championship last year, winning 2 playoff games versus Tampa, and then winning in the first round last season. And then you come versus the Rams and Matthew Stafford, beating the Rams again on Sunday Night Football, and then winning on Thanksgiving, beating the Packers 2 times in a row. And now you're coming out and picking a fight with the team. It's like, if you're the Packers, you're trying to quietly sneak up on them and take control of the division. You don't want to bang on the door of their house and wake them up. It's like, oh yeah, if we lose this game, then we're going to be tied with the Vikings. If we lose to the Vikings, then we're going to be tied in a 3-way clusterfuck at the top of the NFC North. Then you just reminded us why we need to come in there and then kick your ass. Like, what are you doing? And then they just played on Thursday night last week, both teams. So they've had some time to prepare for this game. I just don't understand what Green Bay's thought process is rattling a cage. And if there's any team you really don't want to pick a fight with, give extra motivation for Dan Campbell to pop a neck vein after having 450,000 milligrams of caffeine. Like I just don't understand the thought process behind that. So okay, enjoy it. Amara over under 10 catches, over under 110 yards, over under
Over.
one touchdown, over. Hey, maybe he'll throw a
Over.
touchdown pass to Jared Goff in this game.
Maybe he will. Honestly, I think maybe the Packers are upset because you know how I talked about how Amon Ra recites all of the wide receivers taken ahead of him? One of those peoples is Amari Rogers, who, by the way, the Packers drafted in the third round over Nico Collins as well. And now Amari Rogers is fucking, I don't know, a janitor somewhere. Who knows? He's got 200, he's got 20 catches for his entire career. Meanwhile, Amon Ra has that in like a 3 game span. So maybe they're just upset because Amon Ra could be wearing green, but they were dumb enough to pick Amari Rogers over him. So maybe it's a little bit of upsetness. But yeah, Lions, 10 straight wins. They're on a mission. They're the hottest team in football. And the Packers, I mean, Jordan Love is a great quarterback, but they've had their struggles so far these past couple of weeks. So as long as the Lions can contain Josh Jacobs, then I think they win this game.
Yeah, I think they win this game, and Jordan Love's going to give you more opportunities to turn them over, which the Lions have been capitalizing on this year. And thing with their defense is you've had an injury to Alex Anzalone and Aiden Hutchinson, but the secondary has stepped up this year. That unit has been a force, and their defense would be one hell of a unit if you still had those two guys there. But now there's still a very good defense, and we still have the most explosive offense in the world. This is still a good team. So I'll take the Lions as well. I think it'll be a pretty close game, but the Lions pull out on top. With these Thursday night games, the Lions haven't been scoring as many points the past few weeks. So I'm going to go 27-25 Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to take that score too. Lions win. I think they cover. So I'll say 27-24, but Lions cover. And it's just a great game overall. This is going to be something about the North matchups that just hit different these days.
Yeah, the hope is that it's like another Steelers Bengals matchup, but we'll see.
God, I hope so. Then we have the opposite of an AFC and NFC North matchup. We have an AFC South matchup. And I feel like just the
Uh,
South matchups just be outlawed at this point. We have
Next
more coming
question.
soon. But Jags and Titans, Mac Jones and Will Levis, Mayo Boy versus Mayo Brain. 2-10 Jaguars who are officially eliminated from contention, and the Titans who are not too far behind. Right now, Titans favored at 3.5. Jags Titans. Like, who cares? And this, like, sometimes when we get to this point of the season, there are a couple of games that just don't matter. If the Titans want to draft a quarterback, then the Jags will win. And if the Jaguars just want to continue down their embarrassment train, then maybe they keep losing. I'll take the Jags to win this game simply because pride,
What?
maybe. Pride. Mac, I don't know. I think the Jags win. I mean, it's a division rival. It'll be closer. Maybe Mac Jones has a good game against Tennessee. Yeah, that's
You
my
don't have that
mindset.
much conviction here because
I
Will
don't have any
Levis
conviction, dude. Who gives a
Will Levis
fuck?
in
These
this
teams.
game, I mean, he went there, he battled the Texans, dropped 32. He had a tough game versus the Commanders, but he hasn't been turning over the ball this much. And then he's just looking at Mac Jones on the other side. He's like, ha, woke up looking for the broccoli. Time to squabble up versus this pathetic Jaguars team. And people are like, oh, Mac Jones has played well. Like, shut up. Like, no one cares about Mac Jones. Stop trying to make Mac Jones into a legitimate quarterback. Just go away. The Macklemore of football just needs to go away. Go to Canada. Go play football in North Korea. You'd probably play better there because, you know, they don't have actual diets there. But Will Levis in this game, I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to show off his talent. And then the Jaguars just coming off one of the weirdest, most ugly games. Just the vibes were completely off versus the Texans, and I don't think you shake that off. This is a team that seems like it's about to get blown up next year. You're probably going to fire your head coach. Trevor Lawrence is just mid at this point. No one really believes in him, where Will Levis has been taking some steps forward the past few weeks. So I think the Titans can compete versus their divisional rivals, especially the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's like we don't need to go like, oh, well, maybe the Jags because Mac Jones. I don't know. It's like, no, it's going to be Will Levis, and he's going to squabble up on these Jaguars.
Don't you think that Will Levis is also due for a meltdown. I mean, he's had meltdowns in the past. If we're comparing him to Jameis Winston, like both of these guys will have a 3 touchdown game, 400 yards, and then the very next game they have 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, 80 yards. Like these are very possible that we see that Will Levis today. Jags, I can see a scenario where because of the way Trevor went down, they come back and show some fight, but these are two
Yeah.
terrible teams at the end of the day.
Yeah, because Trevor went down, they're gonna come back to, all right, man. Well, we just need to like go out there and like win. It's all about like just doing it. So let's go out there and do it, guys. All right, do it on three. One, two, three, do it. Like that's the guy who's like, yeah, we really need to play hard for him. The guy who uses a fan to have his hair flowing in our media day. Like, okay, that's the guy motivating you.
Two terrible teams at the end of the day. These, who knows? Jags are 0-6 away, and the Titans are 1-4 at home. So who knows how
Yeah,
that game
Jags got
goes?
him last time in Tennessee though. That was the game that knocked him out of the playoffs. So Titans have kind of had
See,
their number.
the Jags knocked the Titans out of the playoffs, so the Titans knocked the
The
Jags out of the.
Titans knocked the Jags out of the playoffs. All they had to do was
This is
beat
the
the
Josh
Titans.
Dobbs game. This is the
Yeah,
Josh Dobbs game. Oh, okay.
that was last. No, that was last season.
Oh, yeah, okay. Josh Dobbs was the
So
year before.
I believe it was still Will Levis playing.
I know that there was another scenario with the Titans with Josh Dobbs 2 years ago. I digress. We have a
They won that game.
reunion. Who? The
The
Jags?
Jaguars. That was the one they
Yeah,
won.
yeah. We have a reunion. Good time for a reunion for the Vikings. Kirk Cousin comes to town. Mr. 0 for 6, 0 touchdowns, 6 interceptions over the last 3 games, 4 picks against the Chargers. Hate to see a Hall of Famer go down like the way he has the last 3 weeks, but maybe this is the week that he turns things around. Vegas says otherwise. They say Minnesota -6 against their former quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Vikings, they're 10-2. I thought they were due for a loss last week, and they still won. They found a way to win, and they had an impressive win. The Falcons are sliding. I think they've lost 3 consecutive games. They had the division by the balls, and it just slipped away. This game, Vikings versus Falcons. Falcons have lost 3 straight. Kirk Cousins has really struggled. I feel like I have to pick the Vikings for respect for the Vikings. They've won 5 straight. They've shown that they're legitimate. And as much as I love Hall of Fame Kirk Cousins, he's not Hall of Fame anymore.
No, he was Hall of Fame for like 5 weeks. And it was a great run Kirk Cousins had, but now he traded in being good at 1 o'clock. Now he's only close in primetime games now. Why is that? Why is that happening right now for Kirk Cousins? Because it used to be Kirk Cousins was undefeated at 1 o'clock, and now he's winning primetime games, but getting destroyed at 1 o'clock. It's like he completely flipped the script here and he's looked old. People have figured out what the Falcons are doing on offense, and this is with Bijan Robinson playing really well. This is with a solid running game for them, and now their defense has kind of it's played okay here, but Kirk Cousins just isn't the type of guy to go home and light up his old team here. So I do still think that the Vikings win this game, especially like defensively. They'll be able to do enough to contain this Falcons team. And this Falcons team has been such a disappointment because it looks like they were about to peak and take it to another level. Instead, they're like, we thought about it. We went on a bye week and then we decided to jump off a cliff instead and fall all the way down where the Vikings look like they were going to melt down for a second in the middle of the season. Kevin O'Connell has weathered the storm here and now they're coming out winning close games. Sam Darnold's not turning the ball over and we're starting to finally get Jordan Addison back involved. TJ Hawkinson is back and healthy for you now. So I think the Vikings should win this game.
One thing I will say that for history buffs out there that they can consider is when Kirk Cousins came to town against good old Redskins back in the day, he did win both of those games and he had good numbers. He was 23 of 26 the first time he came to town. They got the win. Then when he came to town again 3 years later, he got the win again. Now,
Uh,
is that a coincidence? We don't know, but things do tend to happen in pairs. So I don't know.
oh,
Is it
he
impossible for
beat
Kirk Cousins to win?
he beat Dwayne Haskins. Oh my.
Hey, if we're talking about scenarios that could happen, revenge game Kirk Cousins, That's the last person I want to see pissed off is Kirk Cousins.
Adam Scheffner, super bad, terrible quarterback, gets hit by
Super,
car.
super piece of shit who owes me $40. Dwayne Haskins,
Yeah,
drug
super,
addict, loser, idiot.
super corrupt CEO gets shot in the face outside of hotel.
Dwayne Haskins slipped on a banana. Big loser. Uh, 1 o'clock game. We have the Jets and Dolphins. But before you think maybe the Jets, nope, we're in Miami. 78 degrees. So little old Tua will not need his banky. He won't need his little bottle. He won't need his hand warmers. We have warm Miami Dolphins. So for my logic for the rest of the season and moving forward is if the temperature is over 40 degrees, I will properly assess the Dolphins and whether or not they will beat the team in front of them. It's being the Jets and the Jets being a complete disaster, I'll take the Dolphins to win this game. If this game was in New York and it was 30 degrees, I would take the Jets. But right now, because it is warm, because Tua will be nice and filled with warmth and sunlight and nice sunbeams and humidity, nice and cozy like a blanket. I'll take Tua and the Dolphins to win this game and further their playoff aspirations.
Yeah, no. The Jets were like, if we could have a entire season compilation and, that was just going to be played on a loop to Free Falling by Tom Petty, we would like to reenact that here. So that has exactly been what the season is. Just so many moments of just Aaron Rodgers looking like, oh my God, what did I do? This is the worst decision of my life. He literally married Kim Kardashian here. It never works out. I mean, this is literally the equivalent of Chris Humphries marrying Kim Kardashian is the relationship of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets at this point. So you got yourself into it. You knew she was probably going to divorce you within a month. Like, why did you do it? We don't know. And this is the equivalent also of Kevin Durant going to the Nets and like, oh, okay. I didn't really have a plan there when I went, where like LeBron, when he goes somewhere, has a plan. And, LA, he brought over another alleged top five player in the league to some people with Anthony Davis. He went to Miami and he got a player there who had already won a finals MVP in Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, who's another all star there, where Kevin Durant's like, let me play with the guy who thinks the earth is flat and go to the Nets without a plan. And then, oh, well, we suck now. I want to leave and go to Phoenix. Oh, wait, we don't have depth here either. It's exactly what
Yeah.
Rodgers did. So, like, why would I pick you to beat the Dolphins?
No, no plan. And the Jets, they've arguably been more embarrassing than that super team that was formed in Brooklyn. It's pathetic. Like at this point, I think they're generally going to finish last in their division. Honestly, probably worse than the Patriots. Patriots at least almost beat the Colts this past week. The Jets just like we talk about how the Patriots look dead. The Jets just look defeated and just tapped out at this point. They've had a team that was looking to be in the Super Bowl hunt has gone everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong at this point. And with these kind of seasons, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's over. They don't care. They're packed up. They're ready to play golf at this point. It's done.
It is done. But yeah, Dolphins, we both have them here. I'll take Dolphins 31-5.
5. Okay. I'll say like 38 to 10. Give a little 10 points action. We have another game here. Carolina at Philadelphia. Spread of 13 for Philadelphia. A nice crisp 45-degree weather. We saw the Eagles beat the Ravens last week when we saw the Panthers play a very close game against the Bucks, and they've actually played some really great football these past couple of weeks. I think Philadelphia is obviously the better team. However, who has been better this past month against the spread? The Carolina Panthers. The Carolina
Against the
Panthers the
spread.
last month against the spread, they are 4-0 against the spread these past 4 weeks. And I don't think that changes this week. I think 13 is a lot. I know the Panthers are bad, but I don't think Vegas has caught up to the Panthers playing well. Bryce Young with a little bit more swagger. We saw him dice up the Panthers. I'm sorry. We saw him dice up the Chiefs. We saw him dice up the Bucks, and he's been playing good football. So I do think the Eagles win this game. I'm saying like probably 31-21. But I do think the Panthers cover the spread in this game.
Yeah, no, they cover the spread. And when you have a double digit spread every time, at some point you're going to start covering these games. And that's exactly what the Panthers have done. I like them to cover in this game. And hell, with the Philadelphia Eagles, at this point, it's like, well, are they, 10 and 2 good? We don't know. So I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are due for a loss here. And, they just went out there, played the Ravens, had a tough game versus Baltimore, and the Panthers have been really close, just knocking on the door every single game. And with Philadelphia being due for a loss, I could see them falling asleep at the wheel here, having Dave Canales ready for a Nick Sirianni, ready to put himself into the coach of the year conversation, because I feel like if the Panthers win 5 games, why shouldn't Dave Canales win coach of the year? I mean, my God, with how dysfunctional and terrible this team has been, especially you win 5 games with David Tepper as your owner. You're the first coach under his leadership as owner to not, get fired after your first season as head coach. I mean, I feel like that'd be a hell of accomplishment. So I feel like the bar to winning coach of the year should be winning 5 games with the Panthers. And honestly, I think this could be one of those. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles, any given Sunday in the NFL, you've won a lot of games in a row. Maybe this is a game where you're like, it's the Panthers and they're just hungrier than you are. And who's played better the past month? Jalen Hurts or Bryce Young? I think it's Bryce Young.
Yeah, any given Sunday. Plus, also, one thing that people forget to mention is when you have a game that's as big as the Ravens and Eagles game was last week, especially, and we've seen this with the Bills and what we saw them after the Chiefs game. There's plenty of
Steelers.
examples like, yeah, exactly. Like after these massive, massive games, coming out the next game flat, especially for a team like the Panthers, who are out of playoff contention. They're not going anywhere. At best, they're going to be 7-10 at best. So, can I see them catching them by surprise and beating the Eagles? Not at all. Happens all the time in the NFL. So, I stand by it. I pick the Panthers to cover. You pick them to win. Upset alert.
Upset alert. Hammer it.
Hammer it down. Now I'm curious to see if you're going to have the same upset alert when it comes to the Saints and Giants game. Saints are favored at 4.5 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Keep in mind the Giants are 0-6 at home. Now that the Cowboys had beat them at home last week, they now are the only team in the NFL who has not won a game at home this year.
Yeah, these are troubling times in the world. We're worried about war and conflict going on. So, honestly, for this game, I think good old Vlad is going to help us out here and decide this is the day I nuke New York. And that's my prediction for this game. He's going to save us from having to watch this.
Okay, so you're gambling on nuclear warfare for this game.
Yep. I
Okay.
think
I wonder what the odds are for that. We should bet on it.
I think it starts today, and he's like, the Saints and Giants. The Giants haven't won at home. I mean, that neck vein. I mean, if it explodes, could wipe out New York on its own. Could be catastrophic. So, you never know. And I think good old Vlad, if you're watching this, I know you are somewhere. Please help us out.
Okay, so just for the people who missed the last 5 minutes, we picked the Panthers to beat the Eagles, and Marcus has bet on nuclear Armageddon against the city of New York or East Rutherford, New Jersey. Chalk that in. We're unfortunately right a lot on this show, so it's kind of a gamble with that pick. But you know what? I respect it. And if it's not a nuclear Armageddon by the hands of Russia, it'll be a nuclear Armageddon by the guy that everyone expected this year to be absolutely parabolic, Marquez Valdez Scantling, short for nuclear bomb, I guess. I feel like it's
And
going to
they're,
take longer for them to say his full name than the bomb is going to take to annihilate the entire city of New York.
yeah.
Someone's going to be Marquez Valdez Ash. That's what it's going to be.
Marquez Valdez. Why
Vapor.
is it so bright outside?
Wow.
It's supposed to be cloudy.
I thought we were not going to see sunlight until April because we're
That's
in
my
the East Coast.
this is my favorite meme. It's just like when you're reading memes about World War III and suddenly it gets super bright at 3 a.m.
Yeah, man. Maybe not. Maybe we won't have a nuclear Armageddon. If this game is played, Giants are 0-6 at home. They'll be 0-7 after this game. Now, here's the real question. We had the greatest Jameis Winston game of all time last week, coming off of an absolute iconic AFC North win against the Steelers. NFL said, we need more Jameis. We need him to face the Steelers again, but maybe this time it's not blizzarding. They go to Pittsburgh. Steelers are favored at 6.5 after they just beat the Steelers a couple of weeks back. Jameis Winston, if this is a full 17-game season, we're talking about 54 touchdowns and 34 picks, 5,800 receiving yards or passing yards. Do we see lightning strike twice? Jameis Winston beats the Steelers twice, or the Steelers prevail?
Yeah, Cleveland beating Pittsburgh twice. Not gonna happen. I just don't see a way like in the NFL. Like maybe the NFL works in mysterious ways, sure, but like that was you played them on a Thursday night when they came off back-to-back games that were came down to the wire versus the Commanders and versus the Ravens, and then it had a torrential blizzard where you could barely see the game happening. It was snowing. It was Jameis Winston magic. And, Jameis pulls out some of these games, but I think the Steelers are on a mission now. They're staying focused on winning the division now. This is another stepping stone towards Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson having that legacy game where Mike Tomlin needs to win without Ben Roethlisberger, without the Super Bowl team that was gift wrapped to him. Um, when he started coaching there. And then Russell Wilson needs to kind of resurrect his Hall of Fame campaign here. So this is just another stepping stone over that. And I think Pittsburgh gets the win. It's another close game here, but I could see the Steelers winning this like 31-23 is a good score.
Now, the real question is over under Jameis Winston touchdowns and interceptions. Touchdowns over under 2.5. I think that's a lock.
I think
Over.
he'll have over under 7 touchdowns. Now, which team those are thrown to is yet to be seen.
Well, last week we got 6, and it was the greatest game of the year, arguably. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Over
Could
under,
he
I mean,
throw
I
the
think,
Steelers 3 touchdowns? We'll see.
can he do it? Well, I'm going to pick the Steelers to win again, too. The Browns, like, the fact that they won that game was great, but I also feel like the snow was part to blame. The Steelers coming off of 2 massive games was to blame. And I feel like if they played 5 quarters, the Steelers would have won that game, or if they went to overtime. So, yeah, Steelers win. I think it's close. I think the Browns could cover, but yeah, Jameis Winston magic just doesn't translate to wins these days, unfortunately.
Yep. It won't be saved by a nuclear war, though. So
Yeah. Well, it's pretty close to New York. We don't know. Maybe we'll see Acrisure Stadium go down in flames too. Who knows? Hopefully not. But what will go down in flames is this Raiders season. Good pivot to the Raiders and Bucks. We saw the Raiders quite literally fumble away a win last week, and I don't mean that as a joke. I mean that literally. Um, they go to the Bucks. They found a way to perfectly play good enough to compete, but bad enough to just keep losing. Something that a lot of teams should honestly take note of, especially after the Jaguars win this week. If the Jags win this week and the Raiders lose, then they are sole possession of that number 1 overall pick. Shador Sanders, you're going to be wearing black and silver. And the Bucks, yeah, they just came off of a win against the Panthers. I'm taking the Bucks, obviously. Raiders don't want to win. Why would they want to win against the Bucks?
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What is there to say? Raiders are trying to lose. Bucks are trying to win. 2 + 2 = 4.
Literally. No. I like what is there to say? Like the Raiders don't want to win. The Bucks are trying to win their division. If they win this week, they'll be the leader in their division. If the Falcons lose to the Vikings. So like, okay, is 1 + 1 2? I don't know. Ask Matt Eberflus. Probably not, according to him. He was like 1 + 1. I think it's 4, but I think I handled that equation correctly.
I think my math, very good. Very good math. Well, we have much better games now that the 1 o'clock slates are over. We go to the 4 o'clock slates.
Do
We
we have more
have,
than 3 games? Finally, finally,
no, nope, 4 games. 3 games.
three
One of them,
games.
though, We have the battle of the AFC West or NFC West, Seahawks and Cardinals in Arizona. Tickets as low as $75, which is probably the highest I've ever seen Cardinals tickets. Um, Cardinals are favored at 2.5, giving the slight edge to the Seahawks. Cardinals definitely struggled the last couple of weeks. They lost to the Seahawks just a couple of weeks ago, 16-6. They fell to the Vikings last week, and Cardinals have just had an up and down season. The Seahawks, if they win this, they're kind of in cruise control for that division. It seems like. I feel like the way that division has gone these last pretty much this entire season, I feel like what's going to happen is the Cardinals are going to win this game because they typically split with the Seahawks. That division just feels like it's going to be determined in week 18. That's just my hunch. Whether or not one team is better than the other, I feel like they're both pretty evenly matched overall. Maybe the Seahawks have a better defense, but something just tells me the Cardinals are going to win this game and just keep that division of like everybody contending at the end of it.
Yeah. Something just tells me the chlorine in the water in Arizona is speaking to me, man. And it's saying that the Cardinals are going to win. And yeah, no, I think this is a pick'em game, like for the division, and the division kind of has kept swinging the pendulum. But I do think that the Seattle Seahawks have been building upon each win each week. You know, you go out there, you beat the Niners in a game where you finally get that weight lifted off of your shoulder. First time Geno Smith has ever beat the San Francisco 49ers. Then you beat the Arizona Cardinals, go to New York after that and beat the Jets, and now you're going to Arizona. Arizona's just been a team where they're too inconsistent on offense for me to really wrap my arms around them, and they start to figure it out with Kyler, but Kyler just doesn't have that chemistry built up enough with his receivers that I feel like I still do trust Seattle more in this moment. And I think they are going to win this division. I'm not sure why. I just kind of have a feeling, but I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win this game. I think it'll be better than 17-13. So give me Seattle winning this game 27-21.
All right, I respect it. I think the fluoride uh, is talking to me right now. I think the Cardinals have that same score. They win 27-21. They figure out how to score points against the Seahawks, and they win this game. They keep the NFC West interesting.
Gotta stop putting fluoride in the water. It's killing all of our children.
For those who don't know, Phoenix, the average, I don't know the measurements, but who cares anyways, but Phoenix historically has the most disgusting city water of any city I've ever been in. And it's disgusting. Genuinely, the water's horrendous. I don't drink their
Yeah.
water, thank God. Good
I
lord.
watch a few travel YouTube channels. And this guy, he's like a former like army guy, and he's like his job is he's a full-time traveler, and he reviews like cities and their infrastructure, and he's like, Phoenix is beautiful if you don't like being outside during the day and coming out at night. Also known for the worst tasting water in the country. Like, that makes sense when you
If I'm comparing it
literally have
to,
more dust in the air than rain.
we don't even have our own water. We have Colorado water. It's, and Colorado's like, I don't know if we want to give you our water anymore, but we'll see what happens. More chloride in the future, maybe. Who knows? Well, we talk about the NFC West being interesting. Bills and Rams face off. This could be a potential nail in the coffin for the Rams if they fall in this game. Bills are favored at 4 points. Um, Bills and Rams at SoFi. What do we got?
Yeah, so the Bills have a home game this week. That's good. Good for the Bills. Congratulations, you're going to LA. It's going to be a lot of Josh Allen fans there, and just with how the Bills have been playing, they've been an absolute wagon. They've kind of been unstoppable this season, especially like every game they've played versus the NFC West. It feels like they've made someone cry, whether it was Geno Smith on the sideline, whether it was the Cardinals after they almost won that game and broke their heart in week 1, whether it was all of San Francisco collectively groaning when they saw Christian McCaffrey tear his Achilles on a non-contact play where he just slipped in the snow and tore his Achilles. And then you're going to LA to face the Rams. Like, this is the end of the Rams season here, and then we're gonna look onward. rebuilding with the Rams. Could the Bills lose this game? Potentially. They have these weird random games, but they're chasing the 1 seed right now. They have the tiebreaker with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have their sights locked and loaded on home field advantage in the first round bye throughout the playoffs. And if they get that, they definitely have a better chance at getting to the Super Bowl. Do I think they will? Not yet. I'm not convinced. I need to see it to believe it with this team because they just broken too many people's heart. But like, I do think they are on a mission this year. They are focused. So a game like this versus the Rams, where we beat the Saints 14-21, give me a break. What a joke the Rams have been. Such a disappointment at the end of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I think how hot the Bills have been, how bad the Rams have been offensively. I mean, we think about it. They broke the spirits of the Cardinals. They broke Geno Smith for a couple of weeks, and they broke Christian McCaffrey maybe for the rest of his career. I would say for the Rams, the key to this game is wrapping Matt Stafford in bubble wrap because I don't want to see the end of Matt Stafford in this game. That being said, I think the Bills win this game easily. They cover, and they do a typical Bills blowout. Josh Allen, maybe he throws another receiving touchdown to himself. Who knows? Either way, I think we see Superman Josh Allen in this game. And then we have the first of the post Matt Eberflus era Bears going to San Francisco. 49ers are favored at 4 points. We saw Christian McCaffrey go down this past week. We saw Matt Eberflus holding a cardboard box outside of Soldier Field. Two new eras. New era for the Niners, new eras for Matt Eberflus. Oh,
Yeah,
here comes
and
the
what did we
documents.
say? The entire San Francisco 49ers roster was going to get hurt this season. And you hate predicting injuries, but we're like, what happened last time they got to the Super Bowl? They, were kind of competitive. And then suddenly, throughout the entire season, the entire roster went down. Well, we've seen Brandon Ayuk go down. We have seen Ufongo go down. We've seen Christian McCaffrey go down. Javon Hargrave, who's supposed to take your team to the next level, go down. We've seen Nick Bosa go down, and the list goes on. Debo Samuel has been banged up with injuries, and now we've seen teams just show up and show out the first week that a head coach gets fired. So for that reason, I'm going with the Chicago Bears to go beat the San Francisco 49ers. This team is too banged up. They're too defeated. They're in a situation where Brock Purdy has been injured, kind of in and out of the lineup, and now they're going to have a decision where do we pay Brock Purdy? We have to look at what happened with Tua, Trevor, and Dak Prescott, and decide is he really the guy there? And if he's demanding top dollar, someone's going to give it to him, and it might not be the San Francisco 49ers, especially since they paid Jimmy Garoppolo. Do they regret that? No, because the contract aged kind of well. So if Brock Purdy doesn't want to come back on a team friendly deal, now it's like this isn't a team that's going anywhere in the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, they're going to get destroyed in the first round here. So I think this is going to be a situation where the Chicago Bears are building momentum going into next season. They don't need a quarterback. Matt Eberflus is finally gone, and Caleb Williams is going to have his best signature game of the season so far. I'm going with the Bears. Hammer Cole Kmet with a touchdown in this game.
That is a crazy pick, but I agree with you. I think, especially with the Matt Eberflus firing, we've seen this so many times where they fire a coach mid-season. Whether it was the Colts when they fired Frank Reich, whether it was countless other examples, but Matt Eberflus is gone. He was a black plague for the Bears this past week. He's gone. They wanted him gone. The Bears locker room was revolting against him after the absolute catastrophe that occurred on Thanksgiving amongst hundreds of millions of fans. And then we have the 49ers who are made of fucking paper glass at this point. So at this point, like, protect Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings because injuries are just flying around the Niners team. Their season's over. Christian McCaffrey's season's over. I like the Bears to win this game too. I think they cover the spread. I think that they maybe not embarrassed, but I think we see the best of Caleb Williams. 300-yard game, maybe a couple of touchdowns, and the best game as a pro overall.
The Bears.
The Bears. Then we have Chargers and Chiefs for Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs are favored at 3.5 points at home, and this is the battle of obviously the AFC West. Chiefs have already clinched; they're fine. They got nothing to worry about here. When they faced the Chargers in week 4, it was a defensive battle, 17 to 10, where Chargers came out to a 10-0 lead and then they just kind of wet their pants. In this game, do you see revenge for the Chargers, or you're just not going to bet against the Chiefs?
I see revenge. Why not? I mean, the Chargers have been playing well so far the past few weeks. They've been getting in defensive battles, and the Chiefs haven't really shown that they've been able to score. Maybe this is a game where the Chiefs really decide to ramp it up and turn it all the way up. And I haven't rooted for the Chargers in my life. I've been labeled a Chargers hater. I've been labeled someone who just hates the Chargers for no reason at all. But I just think I'm realistic when it comes to the Chargers here. So I haven't been burned as much as you have when it comes to the Chargers versus the Chiefs. And it seems like every time they play the Chiefs, it's been a close game. So at some point, Jim Harbaugh's going to break through with this team. And then we're going to see a great game from Lad McConkey on this team. But the thing will be, is it going to be a pass where Quinton, if they lose this game, it's going to be because of Quinton Johnson dropping a massive pass here. But the Chiefs have kind of just been coasting through the past few games, doing enough to win. And at some point, versus a divisional rival, that's going to come back to bite you. And I do think they're going to be able to turn Patrick Mahomes over. And they're going to learn from that last game because it was a close game. It was a horrific game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that game for the Chargers, like, oh, well, the Chargers kind of chargered in that game. This is kind of what they do. So now I think we are slowly starting to turn the page with Jim Harbaugh. Really, the problem with the Chargers is they just don't have enough weapons at receiver, which was my biggest concern with them heading into the year. But hey, when you have a good defense, when you have a good run game here that Jim Harbaugh's been able to develop, you're going to probably get T. Higgins next year if he doesn't go to the Broncos. So this is the team trending up. And I do think you upset the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Bills will be looking down on them with home field advantage as the number 1 seed.
I agree. I mean, we talk about how close this game was last time around, and that was week 4 when they were just getting started with the Jim Harbaugh era. I think since then you've seen Lad McConkey embrace his new role. You've seen Gus the Bus and J.K. Dobbins play great football. I know J.K. Dobbins will be out, but the Chargers have played really well. And for the Chiefs, like they've been playing with their food ever since the Bills game. They happened to face two of the worst teams in the league, and they were all really close games. So I think the Chiefs are due for a loss. If I can say that the Vikings are due for a loss, I think I can say that the Chiefs are. The Chiefs have had the most
What?
weirdest voodoo magic bullshit this whole season, whether it was the Bengals game, whether it was this past game against the Raiders. I don't know what hex they have. I don't know what Illuminati Taylor Swift shit they have on the NFL, but the Chiefs are due for a loss. And I say that as not a Chiefs hater. I say this as just a team that has not been 11-1 good this year. They've been obviously the Chiefs. They're still great. They have great teams around them. They have Andy Reid, but I think they're due for a loss, and I think the Chargers are the team that dews them that loss.
Yeah, and it could be, and it's like a divisional rival. So if you lose to your divisional rival, it's not too much shame in it. But I feel like at some point the Chiefs may be down 10 in this game. Patrick Mahomes is gonna be like, shit, we have to go on the road and we don't have a bye again. Okay, maybe we need to turn it up. But the Chiefs last season, I feel like it proved to them, okay, we can go on the road 2 games and, get to a Super Bowl here. So, you don't want to take it for granted if you're the Kansas City Chiefs because you kind of do need that bye because Pacheco has been banged up. He could use another week. And, if you could give DeAndre Hopkins a break, that would be fantastic because D Hop is older. So, if you don't have the number 1 seed, you're just risking DeAndre Hopkins' health as well. And if he goes down, who are you throwing the ball to exactly? How many times can we throw it to Christian, Travis Kelsey, and Christian Watson? Like, not enough. So I feel like the bye is more important for the Chiefs than ever this year, so they can get their weapons healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it's the Chiefs' year anymore. I'm starting to believe it's not, but we fell into that trap last year. So I think this is a big game for the Chiefs. I think that they'll still be fine overall, but I think this game they fall. And then Monday night, they have Bengals and Cowboys on this game. Over under a 49.5. And for me, I take the over in this game. Joe Burrow, if the records were flipped, he'd be the MVP right now. Just 30 touchdowns, five. He's been insane this year. It's such a shame that the season is lost at this point. Cowboys, now that they completely lost out on the quarterback situation, They're winning games. This might actually be a fun game. I'll take the Bengals just for the fact that I think the Bengals are the better team. Cowboys, they've actually played pretty well with Cooper Rush, surprisingly. So this could be a good competitive game. This is at AT&T Stadium, so wear some sunglasses. Joe Burrow, CeeDee
At
Lamb,
night.
everybody else. Maybe not get blinded by the light, but I think the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the window and the sun there. And then, the Bengals are this orange team from Cincinnati. And what was their kryptonite last time they played the Dallas Cowboys? Who was the quarterback then? Oh, yeah, that was Cooper Rush last time they played the Dallas Cowboys and lost to them. And now you're going to walk in to Monday Night Football like I'm so sick of this Bengals team because they should be in the playoffs. And you're robbing us from Joe Burrow in the playoffs this year, matching up with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, going head to head with the Steelers here, or Justin Herbert. And we're losing out on all of these fantastic quarterback matchups because Joe Burrow isn't going to be in the playoffs. So honestly, do I think they're gonna lose? Kind of, but do I think the Bengals deserve to lose at this point? Yes, and the Cowboys defense has been playing better over the past few weeks here. Micah Parsons has been showing up, and the Cowboys just winning at the end of the season, going on a run. So Big Mike, Big Mike, Super Bowl winning head coach here is going to be like, look at how we finished the season at the end of the year. It really was Micah Parsons got injured in the middle of the year. That was our problem. And then, it took time for Rico Dowdle to develop here. Then Dak Prescott got injured. So then Mike McCarthy is going to make his case to stay, and he's going to be the head coach again next year for the Dallas Cowboys. And we're going to forget about that Green Bay meltdown here. So fuck it. I think the Cowboys are going to win.
Honestly, I would argue with you, but I don't trust the Bengals either. I just think like maybe Joey B can get it done, but yet again, like they haven't got it done all season. It's not even about Joe Burrow at this point. It's the fact that their defense is pathetic on all levels. Lou Anarumo will probably be unemployed after this year. Who knows? Maybe if we're lucky, Zach Taylor will be fired too. I don't know what's wrong with this Bengals team. They have the talent, they have an exceptional offense, but they just have not got it done. And this is unfortunately them crashing and burning. Hopefully, they're still good enough to beat the Cooper Rush led Cowboys, but they weren't good enough last time. So I don't know.
But
We'll
hey,
see how it
Joe
goes.
Burrow bought a $3 million Batmobile. So fantastic. That's what matters, right?
He's still winning off the field. But that's all the games in week 14 in the NFL. We previewed it here. But now that we're closer to the NFL playoffs start in a month. And I just want to quickly snap through the playoff picture just to see where we are. In the AFC, it seems all but locked up at this point. The seventh seed, actually, all of the wild cards all have 8 wins. Broncos at the 7th seed, Ravens at 6, Chargers at 5. And then closest on their tails is the Colts, who are 6 and 7, who also just suck, frankly. And then the Dolphins, who are there, and then the Bengals, who are there by just an inch. Everybody else, starting with the Browns, are all but eliminated. Do you see any changes in the wild card spots, or is it kind of locked in?
I think it's kind of locked in, especially with the Broncos kind of getting pushed on a Monday night game. Their defense showing up. Bo Nix has been getting better each week, and Sean Payton is a Super Bowl winning head coach. Is he our favorite coach on this show? No, because we don't like coaches that have to win and have only won when they've targeted people and hurt them. But I do think the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Ravens are going to be the wild card teams, and then we're going to see Houston versus the Ravens in the first round, maybe even the Chargers with how the Ravens have looked versus actual competition the past month. And then it's going to be probably the Steelers, Bills, or Chiefs in there. But I think the AFC is kind of set in stone here. Is Miami going to suddenly come back and make it? No, because they're going to have to play another game in sub 40-degree weather.
Yeah, let's look at Miami's. Miami has to face the Browns again in Cleveland in
Nope.
December, and they have to face the Jets in January, which it's surely to be cold. It's always cold in New York in January. So yeah, they're done. They're going to lose at least 2 more games if they don't lose this game against the Jets this week. To be completely honest, Who knows?
Honestly, if
Yeah,
the Colts make the playoffs, it's gonna be because the Texans just start losing games.
yeah, that's true. It's kind of similar to like to the AFC South or the NFC South, where any changes it's going to be if the Texans completely crash out. I think the Texans should win another game and the Colts should lose another game. Therefore, they would still have the odds there. But yeah, overall, like, do you see maybe the Chiefs falling to that 2 seed and having the Bills move up to that 1 seed? At this point, that kind of seems the most plausible
Yeah, that would
if
be the
there's any
most
shadow.
plausible change here. And I think we could see that. It's gonna. I think the Steelers play the Bills and the Chiefs again, or do they just play the Chiefs?
Let's look at the Steelers. The Steelers, they face the Ravens and Chiefs one more time. They face the Chiefs actually on Christmas. The Steelers
Yeah.
do.
So I think the Chiefs are locked. I think the Steelers are locked into the 3 seed. So yeah, it's gonna be a coin toss between the Bills and the Chiefs. I could see the Bills getting the 1 seed though. I think it's gonna be their year that they do it. They're probably gonna be 14-3, 15-2, and they have the tiebreaker over Kansas City. Kansas City, you're probably gonna lose to Denver, or Los Angeles in one of those games, and probably the Steelers. So I think the Chiefs, if they lose another game, then they'll be the 2 seed.
There's a situation where they're potentially Chiefs fall to the 3 seed and they might have to face the Ravens in the first round if that all plays out.
Yeah, or you're gonna
That'd be
have to
tough.
play someone from your division 3 times, which is never easy.
Yeah, if they're the 2 seed, they'd face the Broncos most likely, unless the Broncos leap to 6. But or better yet, maybe the Chargers. But that's a tough battle for like all three of those teams are teams that the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs can handle, but I still think that
Yeah.
that's going to be a tough battle regardless, especially with how the Chiefs have looked.
Yeah, no, the most coveted seed is gonna be the 5th seed, though, because that's gonna be the easiest games going to Houston.
Yeah, and right now the Chargers have that currently, but that could change this week, obviously.
Potentially. The Ravens play the Steelers again, though. I think they play Cleveland again.
Yeah.
Who do
Well,
the
we
Ravens
have
have left?
yeah. So both first of all, this is the last week of buys. So Broncos, Colts, Patriots, Commanders, Ravens, and Texans all have a bye this week. But Ravens, who do they have next? I'll pull them up. Um, Ravens schedule. We have so for the remaining games, we have the Giants when they return from their bye week, win obviously. They face the Steelers, and then they have the Texans and Browns to end it.
Okay. I see another loss in there for sure.
I think they can win out, but I think they probably lose a game there. Maybe it's the Browns, maybe it's the Steelers, maybe it's even the Texans if they figure it out. But yeah, I think it's going to be, I think they're going to lose that game. But then, see, like the AFC is less interesting. I feel like the NFC is where it's actually where all the action is. We have the Lions, who are the number one overall seed. They've won 10 straight, but they're also right on their neck. They have the Vikings in their division, and they have the Eagles, who are right there as well. I think, I feel
And
like
the
the Lions are
Packers
locked into
too,
that.
right?
Yeah, Packers have 3 losses. So yeah, they are probably not going to get it, but if they do, they're knocking on the doorstep. I think the Lions are locked into that number one overall pick or number one overall seed, but I think just because how they've played. But do you see that? Like, do you think the Lions lock that in, or I guess it really
Yeah.
depends on how that Viking games goes and the Packers
Yeah,
game.
no. Yeah, the Lions are going to lock that in this year. Philadelphia is definitely going to lose another game. I can't see them winning out, especially like they've been winning games, but like their offense is still missing like another gear. I feel where the Lions are just on a mission this year, unbeknownst to Chris Sims. They're like on Sunday Night Football before, like at halftime. They're like, "Oh, who do you think's like the best team in the NFC?" He's like, "Actually, I like the Eagles better than the Lions." I'm like, "What are you talking?" He's like, "I think if the Lions go to Philadelphia, like the cold weather is still a problem for Jared Goff." Like, are you kidding me? Like, is a problem for
Lazy.
Jared Goff? It's going to be a problem for Jalen Hurts, and then also, yeah, sure, you have Saquon Barkley there, but you also have the best dual threat running backs in the league in Jameer Gibbs and you have David Montgomery there, and you still have Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta. Like their offense is just so much more explosive than everybody else. So I do think they take care of business here. They're probably going to lose either to the Packers or to the Minnesota Vikings, but they definitely take care of business and get the 1 seed there. And I have Philadelphia locked in at that 2 seed, though.
Yeah. I just feel like it's amazing how much they changed their narratives on the Eagles because last year they were calling for Sirianni's job. I saw the same thing earlier today when I was at the gym about his job security. Makes no sense, but Eagles, they have, I would still think that Dan Campbell is a better head coach for the Lions. And I feel like if we're looking at talent wise, I think the Lions are still better. So ridiculous. I think the Eagles will stay at the 2 seed, and I think the Lions will too. But after that, it gets super. After that, it's pretty much wide open. I think Vikings and Packers are all but locked into the 5 and 6 seed, unless if they flip the Lions potentially. But
Mm.
other than that, we have the 7th seed, which is the Commanders, who they beat up on their team last week, but they have been struggling. The Bucks and the Falcons, they're in the mix for the playoffs still. They might flip each other. I honestly think the Bucks at this point are probably going to win that division in the NFC West or NFC South.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the Bucks running game has been better. Their offense has been better than it was last year. And you had that time without Mike Evans there. Chris Godwin isn't there, but you still have someone like a Cade Otton who's turned into an absolute monster. He's going to be the next guy at tight end. You have Bucky Irving, who's going to be the next guy, and then Bucky Irving was the best thing that ever happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Rashad White's like, oh, maybe I should actually be a good running back this year. And then he's also started to play really well for them. And their offensive coordinator, credit to them, has been exceptional for them after losing Dave Canales. And then Todd Bowles coaching up the defense there. Like the Falcons have just been free falling. They just look like a team that's dead in the water. I really don't see them turning it around. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still a roster that has some of that skeleton of the Super Bowl team that has made playoff runs. This is a team that should still be owning the division there. So I do think it's Tampa's division. And you could probably be the 3 seed theoretically because the NFC West is just going to eat itself alive.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to go to next. I think the Bucks are going to probably be the 4 seed most likely. Either way, they're probably going to face either the Vikings or Packers. Which I'm not so confident that they beat the Packers, but I do think they can beat the Vikings for sure. In the NFC West, currently it's the
Battle of the
Seahawks.
2018 draft.
What's that?
Battle of the 2018 draft. Baker and Darnold.
Yeah. Oh God, I'd take Baker all day. Um,
I like Sam
NFC,
Darnold. He's a quarterback
he's
eel.
quarterback. You'll yeah,
He had
white
sex with my
powered.
daughter, so I like him.
Yeah. In the NFC West, the Seahawks, if they win this week, are pretty much just going to win that division at that point. If the Cardinals win, though, we're looking at a totally different landscape. I don't. It's at this point, technically, all of them can still win it. The 49ers, if they lose this week, they're done. They're all but eliminated. But Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks could all technically still win that division. I feel like the better of these teams, honestly, maybe the Seahawks, but I honestly change by the minute with the Cardinals and Seahawks. I feel like they're both, all my issues with them are all kind of similar. I guess right now the Seahawks earned it more, but yeah. Who do you think wins the NFC West?
Seattle. It's the 12th man. I mean, the Rams and the 49ers both have senioritis, not in just their board. It's just they're literally all senior citizens, and the rosters have been decimated here. And I just can't wrap my arms around Kyler Murray. And it's not because he's small, and every time he does, he kind of slips away from you and he loses him. It's just you can't wrap your arms around him because he shows up small in big moments. And I think the division winner will be determined on Sunday. Whoever wins that game is going to go on to win the division. But I think Seattle's defense has actually turned into a legitimate force this season. And if it wasn't for that kick return versus the Jets, that game really wouldn't have been a competition here. And then you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who came into his own with the injury to DK Metcalf. And then we're good enough with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, where I think they're going to come out and win that division. Then you're going to match up with the Packers or the Vikings. And then, hey, when we get into a cold football game, if it's in Lambeau or Seattle, and we have those corners and Boye Mafe firing on all cylinders, all right, all bets are off here. But I do think Seattle's just a better team, and they've been better coached towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. I like their weapons better. I like their defense better. And coaching, kind of a coin toss, but yeah, Seahawks probably should win it. Overall, I like how this shapes out. Now, I guess the only other thing is, do you see the Commanders falling out and seeing a team like, even if the Bucks don't win the division, maybe a Falcons or Bucks take their spot, or a team like the Cardinals or Rams stealing the Commanders' spot?
Mm, what's the remaining schedule they have? Because I feel like they pulled it together versus the Titans and they kind of snapped out of the funk that they were in. Where I feel like they can't really hold a candle to top tier competition, but I do still think that they're better than the Cardinals and the Rams at this point and the Falcons. So I do think they should
Yeah.
stay there. And
They
then,
faced the Saints.
mhm,
Yeah, their record, they faced the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and end on the Cowboys.
Saints, Eagles, Falcons, and end on the Cowboys. So I think you go 3-2 at worst, and you're probably 4-1 through that stretch. And then guess what? If you lose to Philadelphia, that's the only game you lose here. How tough is it to beat a divisional opponent 3 times in a row when everyone's thumping their chest for the Philadelphia Eagles, talking about how great they are, and then all the pressures on Sirianni, all the pressures on the Eagles, and then I could honestly see if you lose to the Eagles twice, I feel like that would be more of a reason of why they would beat the Eagles a third time. I know that logic doesn't really make sense, but it is really hard to beat a divisional opponent, to beat any team 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I'd agree. I honestly think that we are going to see one of those upsets. It happens every year. I mean, we had the Vikings who were the 2 seed one year. They collapsed against the Giants. We've seen time and time again Aaron Rodgers' teams melting down. So anything's possible. Now, we're talking about the playoff race. We also have the award races. We gave our grades earlier in the season, but as we enter into peak NFL football season, grades are somewhat negated. Award races now, like, I feel like the MVP race is now down to Josh Allen, Lamar, and Saquon, most likely. Of those three, I think the favorite right now is currently Saquon, but I feel like with how they vote with the MVP, I feel like Josh Allen's probably going to win it, even though I think Lamar has
Yeah.
better stats.
Lamar, like, all right, you don't win your division, you're disqualified. You can't be the MVP this year, and you've already won 2 MVPs. So just with voter fatigue, you're basically disqualified. How can you be the MVP if you have Derrick Henry and can't win your division this year? You lost out to Mr. Unlimited. Like, come on, that's unacceptable. And then with Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley, the media has really wanted to give it to Josh Allen the past few years. So if Saquon Barkley doesn't set the record for Eric Dickerson's record this season, I think it goes to Josh Allen. But if he breaks the record this year and the Philadelphia Eagles get the 1 seed, then I think it goes to Saquon Barkley, because this was a team. It's like Sirianni's gonna get fired. Sirianni has awkward. Like, the media had their knives out there, drumming up fake stories left and right, trying to get this guy out of Philadelphia. And now suddenly that Saquon Barkley shows up. Oh, they're a Super Bowl team. They're better than the Detroit Lions. Like, what? The way you change your tune on Saquon Barkley here. So I do think it's gonna it will go to Saquon if he breaks the record. If not, it'll go to Josh Allen. But you
Yeah,
have to do something historic.
yeah. My mentality is if Josh Allen's the number one seed, right, and for them it's also narrative based. Again, like Lamar has Derrick Henry, who's another MVP candidate, and he's already won 2 MVPs. I feel like they're always trying to give that award to, like, every year Josh Allen's the favorite to win MVP if it's not Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think that changes this time. If you have an opportunity to give an MVP to Josh Allen and legitimize him as a top 5 quarterback, then I think they're going to do it. I think we're going to see this is the year for Josh Allen, especially with Stephon Diggs being gone, especially with their whole defense getting gutted. If they're 15-2, then he earned it at that point.
Yeah, for sure. I think he goes out there, and this is probably his year he gets it done. But unfortunately, they're just stopping him from winning a Super Bowl if they hand him the MVP.
And maybe he'll break all the Hey, it's a year to break curses potentially. We saw the Lions break curses. Maybe the Bills break the MVP curse, and just the curse of OJ Simpson potentially. Who knows? Maybe they're winning this for OJ. Who knows?
Yeah, OJ dies, and then the Bills win the Super Bowl. Coincidence? I think not,
I think it's possible. Killer's
because this
still
is
out
the
there. I
best
heard.
running game that they've had since OJ died.
Yeah, it just took a sacrifice of Orenthal for them to be where they are now.
Such a shame. I mean, you put the guy in jail for taking back his memorabilia. He was a good guy in his community. He made the Kardashians. He liked golf. You know, what do you think about OJ? One word for him. Well, no. Uh, Golf.
I probably shouldn't say anything. Golf. One of my favorite clips on the internet, by the way. Trump on the Note boys. Uh, okay, so outside of the MVP, we have Josh Allen or Saquon taking it. Then if we're looking at like offensive rookie of the year, it's kind of a three-headed monster between Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Brock Bowers. In my mind, even though a tight end has never won, if we're talking about sheer dominance of their position, Brock Bowers entered in his fifth in receiving yards. He's on pace to have over 100 catches, and he's already the best tight end in football. I would give it to Brock Bowers right now over these two quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, he is the offense there. So it's like, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix have struggled. It just doesn't feel right to really give it to a quarterback this year. And I feel like a lot of people are having buyer's remorse giving it to CJ Stroud last year over someone like a Jameer Gibbs who has continued to play well while CJ Stroud has not at all this season. So I do think it goes to Brock Bowers. Chance to give it to someone new, give it to a tight end who has been top 10 in receiving as a rookie tight end. Like, just give it to him. Like, Bo Nix has been good this season, but is he going to win his division like CJ Stroud did? No, he's not. And then Jaden Daniels isn't going to do that either, where Brock Bowers has put up really good numbers for a rookie tight end, and you really don't see tight ends pop this early. In their career. Typically, it's like year 3 or 4, just since it's such a physical position.
Yeah. Plus, also, like, if we're looking at Bo Nix, the first month he was pretty bad. Second month he was kind of average. Third month he's looking pretty good. I think we've seen the progression of Bo Nix on like a very linear scale. And then Jaden Daniels, I feel like he got really hot to start the season, and he's since kind of shriveled out a little bit. So, like both of these guys haven't had perfect rookie seasons, and they're rookies. Maybe it doesn't matter, but Brock Bowers has been the guy since week one, and he's been the best tight end in football since week one. So if we're talking about like the best offensive rookie, since it's not just a quarterback position, give it to Brock Bowers. He deserves it.
Give it to Brock Bowers. And then, we previewed the NFL playoffs, but we have the NBA playoffs, NBA midseason tournament, the tournament that no one asked for, Tournament of Champions. And then Draymond Green was asked earlier this season, what would it mean to win an NBA Cup? And he's like, it would mean everything. It would be like kicking, like the feel. It would be the same feeling I get kicking Steven Adams in the nuts. Would be winning a midseason tournament, and now we are setting up for Hawks and Timberwolves, two poverty franchises. The Timberwolves, who have been blundering through the season after trading away Carl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, which is the poor man's version of Al Jefferson for Kevin Garnett. And now we have the NBA in-season tournament. It doesn't mean anything for anyone's NBA legacy, and all the money goes to charity. So I guess that gives the players something to play for, even though tax-wise it's not decreasing their credits or debits here. If you get my gist there. So NBA Cup, the Emirates present it to us. Who do you like this year? The Lakers won it last year and then got gentlemen swept out of the playoffs by the Nuggets. Do you think this impacts anything, or do you think you're like, wow, congratulations to the Timberwolves? You are the second Emirates Cup champion.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think the NBA Cup proves who's not going to win a playoff series. So if I'm going with that logic, the brackets here, the East, we have the Bucks versus Magic in the first round, Knicks and Hawks. I'm just going with a team. I think the Magic win that, and then the Hawks, maybe the Knicks. I guess both teams are kind of similar. And then in the West, we have Thunder and Mavericks. I guess the Mavericks win that one, and then Rockets and Warriors. I can see maybe the Warriors winning that, or the actually no Rock. I think Rockets win that. So then, ultimately, what I think we're setting up for is like a Rockets and Hawks NBA Cup, and which I don't know if either of those teams even make the playoffs. I think the Rockets do, but Hawks, we're not so sure the Hawks make the playoffs. If they win the NBA Cup, give me a break. I mean, we had the Lakers last year, where they make the playoffs. They just squeeze out of the playoff bracket tournament, and they lose in 5 games. Basically, get gentlemen swept out of the playoffs. So if we're going with that same logic with the NBA Cup, really just pick who do you think is most likely to be swept in the first round, and that's who's going to win this NBA Cup.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I think it's gonna be something. It might be like Bucks and Timberwolves, and we'll get a Midwest battle riveting here. But like honestly, like you're incentivized to lose. Like your reward for winning the NBA Cup is playing more games in the regular season, which players are already complaining about. So maybe Steph Curry goes nuclear, and they end up winning the NBA Cup and get swept in the first round just because they don't have enough talent. And people are like, oh yeah, Andrew Wiggins stepping up. Like, yeah, the guy has tried to tell you who he is. He's not suddenly going to step up and be this 25 a night consistent scorer in the playoffs here. So now, um, it's like your reward is playing more games. You think the Celtics are sweating that they're not in the NBA Cup right now? They're like, no, we get to take some time off here. We get rest if we don't advance to the championship bracket of the NBA Cup. So really, like, you're incentivizing teams like not to want to play in the NBA Cup because they literally it felt like they lost to the Pacers on purpose last year. They're like, wait a minute, we don't want to play an extra game for no reason. Lose that game, go on to win the NBA championship here. So it's like you're just adding more wear and tear on the tires. It's like, does it make the regular season more interesting? No, because when you say NBA Cup, people are like, what? And it was like, yeah, like the NBA mid-season tournament. And like when we found out about this, is like this makes no sense. And it's not gonna have anything to do with anyone's legacy. They just literally invented it for LeBron. So LeBron could say he was the first person to win the NBA Cup.
More reasons to add to his GOAT debate. I think honestly, no, if I'm looking at it objectively now, it's probably going to be the Warriors that win this because the Lakers finished as the what 7th seed last year. The Warriors are currently the 7th seed, and how poetic would it be that LeBron wins the first one and then Steph steals his thunder and wins the second one? Because
Yeah.
ultimately the Warriors aren't winning the title, so this really is the closest thing they're going to get to a championship this year, most likely. It's probably going to be the Warriors that win this NBA Cup. Steph, he's a competitor. He's a dog. He's also building his GOAT argument. NBA Cup, I guess. Not that it
If
even
you're
builds the argument, anyways.
if you're a history buff though, you would know that every time Kendrick Lamar drops an album, the Warriors win a championship.
Well, in that case, we got number 5 coming up for
Maybe
Steph
it's gonna
Curry.
be maybe it's gonna be like Kendrick's leaning more into like more fun, like dance like albums with like mustard where it's just hardcore West Coast, like just fun hip hop here instead of like some of his concept albums which have like spectacular writing and are really deep. And then it's gonna be like the Warriors who are like, yeah, let's stop winning championships and on that same wave start winning NBA cups whenever he drops an album.
A championship is a championship. Can't take that away.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
cannot take
but
it away.
yeah, and it's going to be in the I mean, it's in the rafters at crypto.com arena, so
It's
it's a
such
real
a
thing.
joke.
It's a joke, and I don't think anybody actually cares. Steph Curry definitely cares about giving $100,000 to charity for the rights to have the NBA Cup. Give me a fucking break. They don't care. They don't care. The difference is that the Warriors are probably not going to be playing deep into April and May. So it's just like, okay, cool. We won a cup. We won what LeBron won last year, but again, if they make the playoffs, they're probably not getting past the first round. So maybe this is what the new Kendrick Lamar uh, theory is with
Who knows?
the Warriors.
Theory of Adonis, though. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
I think the GNX album is really just the death of Drake and just the
No,
I won victory lap.
the death of Drake is himself, where he has a song where he's saying drop, 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 and then he's like, okay, stop. And then he's going to try and sue someone in a rap battle. Literally, Stephen A had an episode and he's like, damn it, Drake, you can't do this. It's not hip hop. I don't talk about it on the show, but let me tell you, I have sources on my phone hitting me up right now, and they're saying he's the first rapper to ever bring a lawyer into this. Like, were Eminem and MGK suing each other during that rap battle? No, they each dropped their diss tracks. One career torpedoed into the stratosphere and blew up. And then Eminem, had his fun, played around, and they both benefited from that battle and went their separate ways. But Drake is just spiraling after this. So it's like a victory, like, theme song where he's like did a whole album with just a not like us kind of theme here. Had a really great Tupac sample. Reincarnation's probably my favorite, one of my favorite Kendrick Lamar songs. Definitely off the album here. And then just like Squabble Up and Turn His TV Off is just like the songs like Not Like Us, where he just made an entire theme track. So it's like, in a way, it is a victory lap, but like Drake kind of sealed his own fate. Like, if he like kind of just shut up after the rap battle and took his L, and didn't, like, Eminem didn't sue MGK, MGK didn't sue Eminem, Pusha T and Drake, like, it never got there. Same with like Biggie and Tupac's, like, they weren't suing each other, they just went in the booth and went at it. So it's like, write a better diss track next time, or don't be so
Yeah,
dissable.
yeah. Honestly, the only thing that Tupac and Biggie did was they just had fucking violence. They just had fucking someone murder them. Basically, that's what came from it.
Diddy did that.
Yeah, it was a Diddy thing. So it's like, yeah, it's lame. And obviously, he lost at this point. I
Yeah.
think the
Did
fact that Not Like Us is the biggest song of the year, the fact that GNX is the biggest album of the year, the fact that he is people who have him on their Spotify Wrapped are getting clowned at this point. Like, yeah, it's not a good year for Drake, but he'll be fine. Like, people will
you
still
know
listen to him, but yeah,
yeah, it's like Jay-Z and Nas like kept it in the booth. Nas drops Ether, one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, and like kind of takes his takes his W over Jay-Z in that battle, I feel like. But like, he just kind of spiraled. It's like, and if you're from Canada, like, you really shouldn't consider yourself the GOAT anyways. Like, you're from Canada. Like, sorry, it's never gonna happen.
yeah. Honestly, well, Anthony Bennett, that's a prime example. Talk about a guy from Canada who sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody from Canada spans out except for Avril Lavigne,
Or Kelly Olynyk.
yeah, or Kelly Olynyk, the savior, or if you're a fucking hockey player. Either way, though, what's more of an L? The fact that the lawsuit is going to Kendrick or the NBA Cup existing? I don't know. That's a tough one to decide. Either way, I think NBA Cup. I'm gonna pick the Warriors to win this, but again, who cares? NBA Cup's just a waste.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the winner of this NBA Cup to be a loser in the playoffs and not win the finals. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Either way, we previewed Week 14. We talked about the award races. We talked about the playoff races currently. We talked about the NBA Cup, the NBA Cup that we're dying to see the final results for. But one last thing we have to do before our show concludes for today. We have our documents behind you. We talked about the worst top five last episode, the worst of the worst. We're here to talk about the best of the best, the upper echelons, the golden platter of the NFL, the top five teams according to the Brickyard, the reason why you have a cell phone, the reason why you tune in each and every week. Top five teams according to Brickyard.
Yeah, we have the top five teams according to the Brickyard here, and we are coming at you with some of the most spectacular teams in the NFL. These are the teams that really have a chance to go far in the playoffs, and we've had some divisions dominate this list, and this is probably going to be the most fair top five list in the NFL right now. And at number five, we have a team battling to win their division this week. They're playing a team that is 2 games ahead of them, but theoretically, they could still technically flip them and be the number 1 seed, even though they're currently the third team in their division. But if you believe in a thing called love, if you have someone like Josh Jacobs on your team, you compared Matt LaFleur to Kyle Shanahan, and you've said that you think he's a better coach. And I think at this point, the
Mhm.
Packers really found their stride last year after Thanksgiving. Jordan Love has been injured, and it really they haven't been able to find the rhythm here, but I think they're going to come into their own here. I think they are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC coming into the playoffs, and I do think that the Packers are going to go to the conference championship this year, whether they play Detroit or whether they play Philadelphia. I think it'll be a great matchup in the conference championship. So at number five, we have the Green Bay Packers. At number four, we have a team from Pennsylvania who was written off last year. They simply fell off a cliff, but now they've come out strong. They've beaten some stiff competition and they beat the Baltimore Ravens this week in what we said was the most important, most telling game of the NFL season, the entire season this year. It all came down to, are the Ravens actually going to go out there and get it done? Flat out fail. What an embarrassment that the Ravens turned out to be in that game. They just couldn't do anything versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia's defense is coming on strong, and now you have Saquon Barkley looking to break ED's single season record here. So at number four, I have the Philadelphia Eagles for their defense coming on strong. Saquon Barkley is leading that team. I can't put them higher just because Jalen Hurts has not been spectacular this season. He's just been kind of a game manager this year and hasn't had to do too much. So just want to see a little bit more from him. But at number three, this is a team that can go higher. This is a team that can go as high as they want to in the NFL season this year. You know why? Because their quarterback is unlimited and this team's potential is unlimited. At number three, yeah, that's right. Both Pennsylvania teams back on this list here. Mr. Unlimited himself throwing for over 400 yards versus the Cincinnati Bengals this year. And I know that their secondary has kind of been like, running over a feather. It's trying to kind of been like trying to fall asleep on a pillow. It's been fairly easy. It's been pretty fantastic for wide receivers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. And Russell Wilson goes out here, lights up the Bengals, and TJ Watt making plays, who's been carrying this team. And now we have the combination of him, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward playing at the peak of his powers as a senior citizen. I mean, it's been absolutely electric what we've seen from their defense, and their offense has been what's lagging behind. But you have a Super Bowl winning head coach here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So at number three, I have the Steelers. And then at number two, we have to have the Kansas City Chiefs here because they are the 1 seed in the AFC. They're trying to make history, do something that no team has ever done, and that is win 3 straight Super Bowls. And they're well on their way to do that. They have some kind of voodoo magic where they've been able to just bizarrely have teams miss field goals like the Denver Broncos. The Raiders literally just drop the ball at the end of the game, but they're still the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defense has been dominating other opponents this year. So at number two, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. And at number one, man, we have the Lions staying at number one. Ever since the Kansas City Chiefs have lost, the Lions have been the number 1 seed, and they're going to stay at the number 1 seed for the foreseeable future until they lose another game here. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson goes down, Alex Anzalone goes down. Doesn't matter. You go out there, win on Thanksgiving where you haven't won on Thanksgiving in a long time. And you're the team that started the tradition to play on Thanksgiving and have 3 games. And now the Lions Go out there, get it done versus the Bears. You have a hell of a matchup tomorrow, but with Jameer Gibbs, Ben Johnson, Sam Laporta, the list goes on. Hell, even Tim Patrick has been stepping up for this team with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, you have a legitimate three-man trio here on offense here, all led by the best head coach currently in the NFL in Dan Campbell, the best offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson, and then Aaron Glenn holding that defense together, even with the injuries that they've sustained. So at number one, the Detroit Lions.
Let's fucking go. Lions roar. The top 5 teams according to Brickyard. We now know from last night's episode who is the bottom of the barrel, and now we know who is the upper echelons of greatness in the National Football League. We covered Week 14. What? We covered the NBA Cup. What?
What?
We covered the award races. What?
Huh?
We talked about the playoff picture. And now we are all set to go for Week 14. Another week of the NFL. Don't look now. A month to go before the playoffs begin. Legacies are formed, and the Brickyard will be here to break it all down. Make sure you tune in next week, most likely on Tuesday, to break it all down again as we recap
But most
this week.
importantly,
Most importantly,
stay
brick.
brick.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, I talked to Andrew.